Hello everyone, welcome back for another book review. So today we are talking, if I could have it right, this book. So this is part of the Sabbat Essentials. I've talked about, oh actually it's behind this. I've talked about a lot of them, so if you've missed, I have talked about all up until this point, starting at Imbolc, and we will continue on until we get to Yule, so we've only got a couple left. But today we are talking about this one. So we have Lughnasadh, also known as Lammas, depending on your tradition, and yeah, let's jump into it. As per usual, the first part of this book is a recap. I think they all have the same verbiage at this point. I didn't bother to read it. It basically talks about the Wheel of the Year and just an overall summary of it. Then it goes over the old customs and then new customs of how people celebrate around the world. It's always interesting to see what harvesty festivals come up and like when and why. So it talked a little bit about how it was kind of a fruit harvest, but then it's sometimes a grain harvest. So it's always interesting. Most of the time nowadays, when we think of this time of the year, we think of the grain harvest. Most people don't associate it with fruit or like vegetables because like they say it's whatever comes into season. We've had plenty in season at this point. Like for us, our fruit tree has already come and gone a long time ago, like before the summer solstice. We had that, and a lot of people we know who have gardens, like they've already had their zucchini and stuff coming up and really ready to harvest completely. So like, I'm not huge on that point for this Sabbat, but other people love it. The spell section in this was really interesting because it did have a lot of focus on what I typically associated this season, which is like prosperity and just kind of career stuff. I've talked about this before, but basically for me, this is a really good time to reset for your career. Again, harness the back to school season because that's what I was raised on. Every year August comes around, you best believe I've got all of the school supplies, brand new backpack, everything is packed and ready and excited for the school year that inevitably I will hate within a week. But actually, day of. Icebreakers for every class was the worst ever. Hated that. But nonetheless, I always associated this time with the prepping and getting ready and going back to school, especially that college came a little bit earlier and whatnot. So I tend to think of this time as a good time to look at my career, and they kind of have this for like success and prosperity magic, so it was kind of nice. For the prayers and invocations, I was a little disappointed because there's really only two ways to look at it. You had the generic kind of Wiccan goddess and god elements of it, and then you had Lugh and Danu, and that was it. Now don't get me wrong, a lot of this holiday has to do with Lugh, but it also was kind of like, could we have any other options really? And I mean, we kind of do, because again, generic Wiccan deity, but it was kind of lame. I wish there's a little bit more to it. And then for the rituals of celebration, the entire book had mentioned this multiple times throughout, so I was really hoping when we got to the rituals that they were going to talk about this, and they don't. So they talked about how this particular season is a great time for weddings, which I was like, okay, do explain further, because usually it's Beltane season, because obviously summer solstice, again, a lot of people get married in June and July. That one's pretty popular. August is like the tail end of summer, so like, how is that a common time to get married? Intrigued. And I really wanted to learn more about it, because this is when we're getting married. Like, as of recording this, we're less than 2 weeks from marriage day, so like, yeah, I wanted to know more. And then they have a ritual about it, and I was so stoked. Like, it sounded like it was gonna be such a good option. So it's on 164. Couples ritual, wedding feast. Does that not sound like something I would want as a bride-to-be in less than 2 weeks in this season? I was stoked. I was like, yes! Because sometimes you'll occasionally find that. A lot of times around Beltane and stuff, and even sometimes summer solstice, books will talk about like a marriage ritual to do, like a hand fasting. And I was stoked. And then no, it leads with the, we're just gonna read it, okay? And we know I suck at reading, so brace yourselves. Many neo-pagans today think of Lughnasadh as Lugh's wedding feast, a celebration of the marriage of the god Lugh, widely conceived in modern times as a solar deity to the goddess of the earth, an idea often understood symbolically and metaphorically as the joining of the sun to the land. Why not celebrate Lughnasadh with a wedding feast ritual of your own? Here's an idea of a wedding feast ritual intended to help gain protection for the earth and its vegetation. I feel like that's Beltane. Feel like even summer solstice. Because this was the ritual of like what you would expect at a Beltane ritual. The god and the goddess get together to create the vegetation, and it's like, haven't they created it at this point? It's the harvest. We're getting away from summer at this point, and we're leading into fall-ish. Currently, that's not how it works where I live. It is summer. It is hot. It is fire season still. So, like, not exactly, but it isn't exactly, like, the growth and everything time either. Everything's just dead. That's all it is. It's on fire or it's dead. Like, seriously, if you drive through Utah around this time of the year, smoke everywhere, and the mountainsides are, like, brown because it's only green for, like, a month or less, and then it's just brown. So I have a hard time with this whole, like, vegetation and the god and the goddess coming together, and that's all this is. It's a Beltane ritual in August. The nice thing about this is they do go into consent for this ritual, and it can go as PG or rated R or X as you want it to be, but like, it feels like it belongs at Beltane, not at this season. Because like, even if you follow the Wiccan wheel, like, this isn't when the god is crowned, like the king of, like, it's not his king time. That's still more at summer solstice. Like, that's when, again, depending on your tradition, like, the sun god is at his full height. That's when he comes into his power as king and ruler and all of that stuff. Height of the sun is out the most, right? And in the opposite part of the wheel, that's when he's an infant and young and just born. And it's also like he's gonna start dying at this point. And like, not exactly him marrying the goddess at this point. Like, again, Beltane, not right now. So that was kind of irksome because, again, they talked about it a lot. It used to be ancient, some people do it now, and we never really got to, like, establish any more than that. And I was excited for that because that's what I'm doing. And I wanted more information, and instead this is just a ritual about the god and goddess hooking up. Because, of course. Said this before and I'll always say it, it's one of my pet peeves if you're new here. I don't love that in my rituals. But overall, not a terrible book. It is not my favorite out of the series. I don't know if it's my least favorite, but I definitely did not get a lot of information from this one. A lot of the stuff was just kind of like, that's cool, but not really my thing. So other people might really enjoy it. Again, if it's your first time celebrating a Sabbat, this series is great. It gives you a bunch of ideas and a bunch of information that you don't have to go flipping through a full book to get to. It's just in one little itty bitty pamphlet book. And yes, mine does have this giant gap because I currently am using a leaf from our flowers for the wedding as a bookmark, because that's what you do. So anyways, I would love to hear your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. Do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day, and I do have a Patreon if you want to support me over there, patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.